Mudras in yoga are criminally underrated. No one even talks about them. But no one talks about anything except asana in the yoga community now anyway. Today I'm going to be defining mudras, giving you guys a basic overview of the types of mudras, and showing you guys how to implement them into your yoga practice. So mudras at an axiomatic level are pranic or energetic seals, somewhat like bandhas. The Sanskrit definition is to bestow delight. Mud is delight and ra is bestow. And the ultimate bestowal of delight in the yoga world is connecting with source, or Purusha in Sanskrit. So all the higher limbs of yoga in general do two different things to help us self-realize and connect with higher consciousness. And that's that they can either help raise kundalini or they can help ground us. When you start to explore pranayama and meditation, for instance, it becomes very apparent which side that you're doing. So with mudras, it's more the same. These pranic seals can either help ground you or help you obtain kundalini-oriented mystical states. And there's this obvious fixation because of psychedelic drugs among other things to only focus on the kundalini side, but that is very dangerous and will lead you to destruction in the long run, in your personal life, in your artistic life. But the Krishnamacharyan view of mudras is that they should be used and are vital to raise kundalini. And Krishnamacharya follows this tradition along with his school of thought from the Hatha Yoga Pratyahara, a famous yoga text, which actually dedicates a whole chapter to mudras. A lot of the main yogic texts that really came to fruition in the medieval period, not the ancient yogic period, dedicate a lot of space to mudras. And once again, we never hear about them. I've been to thousands of yoga classes and done teacher trainings and learned about a couple mudras, but we never really dived into that much depth with them. We didn't really dive that much into depth with anything, honestly. So the reason I'm mentioning these two schools of thought is depending on which type of mudras you're doing, either raising or grounding, you need to do them at different times in your practice. For instance, if you're trying to raise kundalini, you'd first want to do asana, then pranayama, and then do mudras, because kundalini raising mudras, a lot of the time, they involve kumbhaka breath retentions. And you don't want to go into those cold. You want a bit of a warm-up before you're doing those, especially if you're taking a more asana position while doing them. But if you're doing more grounding mudras, you can actually do them before your asana practice to help ground you into a more realized self. Because, a problem that happens in asana, pranayama, and meditation practice is that people become too ambitious for no reason at all, and it hurts them in the long run. And a good thing to do is either to meditate or do some mudras before the practice to help ground you in the self more. Because if you're grounded in the self, you are connected to objective reality in the moment, and that's nothing's deeper than that. But on the other side, if you raise your kundalini, then you're connected to source, to Purusha. And that's crazy too, but existing between isn't as fun or productive. So now I want to talk about the different types of mudras. And the first type of mudras, and it almost follows the 8 limbs of yoga, is the asana mudras. For instance, Sharvangasana, or shoulder stand, if done in the right way with the right bandhas, is called the Viparita Karani mudra. Headstands and even handstands are forms of classic asana mudras. I got my mind blown when I learned that you could do certain locks while in a handstand that could create a certain energetic effect. Like, if you do a Jalandhara bandha, you maintain a certain drishti, and then you do a breath retention in a handstand, it actually enhances it like crazy. I mean, I know a lot of people out there probably can't do a handstand, but same with a headstand. If you engage in certain bandhas and locks and certain drishtis while in every single position, it actually creates a different result. And that's really the trifecta. And if you change some of the variables, you get different results. But there's some classic mudras and a lot of yoga positions that are really cool. So another classic mudra that you might see is that you can do certain things in up dogs, you can do certain things in Marichasana C or twists, Janu Shirshasana, and a lot of it involves the Jalandhara bandha, certain drishti, and breath retentions. So, that's what we could say here, that a mudra most of the time in asana postures involves a certain drishti, breath retention hold, and application of bandha. And in other videos, I will roll out the mat and I'll show you guys, and we'll do them one by one because there are safety concerns and other things, and this is just a general introduction to the types of mudras. The second set of mudras are the pranayama mudras, and these are just basically poses in Padmasana, full lotus, that you can do, just different variations, hand positions that you can do while in a meditation posture to enhance your pranayama practice and do different things. Once again, both, and I forgot to mention this, in asana and in pranayama, some can help ground you and some can help raise you up. And if you combine that with a grounding posture or an uplifting posture, you can then, you can control your energy and control your life and what you're trying to achieve. And this can help you move into a practice, because with asana alone, you can't necessarily obtain mystical states. But if you are starting to uplift in your asana practice and you do a very raising pranayama practice with Bhakrista, for instance, a ton of repetitions of that, then you head into some chakra meditation, and then maybe some samadhi meditation holds at the end of all that. That's pretty intense. You're going to get up there. So the next category of mudras is the Pratyahara mudras. And Pratyahara, the fifth limb of yoga, is about sense withdrawal. And you might be like, how do you do a sense withdrawal? That's always a big question. Like, what the hell is Pratyahara, the fifth limb of yoga, about? And mostly it has to do with the eyes, you know, the crossing of the eyes, the uplifting of the eyes, or locks with the tongue. There's a lot of things that happen with the tongue, and I'm not very good at this. Kind of have problems, like when I do something new for the first time, I'm always like the person, like when I started yoga or martial arts or other sports, like I'm always at the back of the pack for a while. So the tongue stuff, I'm not the best at it even still. Like I still feel very clunky with it. You know, those type of holds when you're in certain positions, like an up dog or in the Jalahandra position while meditating, can create some very intense experiences. So now let's talk about Darana, and this is once again a underutilized aspect of yoga, the other criminally underrated limb of yoga, even though mudra isn't a limb. And Darana is really chakra meditation or visualization meditation, holding images. It's a rabbit hole that's so important, and it is the key to raising kundalini. It is, because dhyana is more of objectiveless samadhi meditation, you know, focusing on the breath or just on nothingness. And that can be very grounding. It can be very uplifting at the same time, obviously. But kundalini meditation, which is really dharana, is very intense, and mudras are actually very important in this. They're more important than any type of mudra we've talked about. They are the most effective and most important while you're doing kundalini chakra type meditation, dharana. And you should be practicing these mudras after pranayama and before meditation. So one of the classic ones in this is the Maha mudra. And the Maha mudra is when you have your hands like this and you have a leg extended in Janushasana, like one-legged forward fold, and you have Bandha, sorry, I'm messing that up, Bandha activated. You have a certain drishti depending on what type you're trying to do, and then you activate, suck, and then you do Uddiyana Bandha, Muladana, then Mula Bandha. Activate all those. You say, I wish I could show you, but my mic is connected to the camera and it only turns on with speech. But you guys get what I mean. It's called Maha mudra. And a lot of these are for kundalini raising, and they're very good at it. If you do it in the middle of your yoga practice, it actually kind of throws you off. And these are actually supposed to be done after, once again, after pranayama. You're supposed to do some additional, more asana type, you know, and more passive type mudras to raise kundalini before chakra meditation. It's really cool stuff. Once again, I'm really excited to start, diving into these more. This is just a basic introduction. Let me know what you guys think. If anyone out there is listening, super stoked on this. And then the last type of mudras, you can call it a lot. You can call them dhyana mudras. You could call them samadhi mudras, but they're another set of mudras that are really more for grounding. They're really going to take you into self-realization more. So I'm going to be covering a lot more of this, but there's a great book out there called Mudra's Seal of Yoga by Gregor Mali. He is a master of all this stuff. He's written books on a ton of different topics on yoga. I think he's the greatest living yogi author alive. He's an absolute genius. We'll be going through some of the stuff in this book and talking about it, and I'm super excited to start this mudra journey with you. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment if you are interested, and I will see you in the next video in this little mini course we're doing on mudras.